Module 25, Managing Data and Workbooks. In Module 25, we'll be publishing workbooks as web pages, creating a workbook template, editing a workbook template, consolidating worksheets, hiding columns, rows, sheets and books, saving a custom view, viewing and changing workbook properties, some exercises and their solutions, and a final summary. So why manage data and workbooks? Well, data and spreadsheets can be stored in a variety of useful ways. Creating a template with commonly used features can save time and allow an effective design to be distributed to others. And consolidating worksheets and workbooks means related data can be saved and utilized conveniently. So let's get started. We already know it's very easy to save an Excel file and distribute it to other users. But there may come a time where the information stored on an Excel workbook needs to reach more people. We have another fictional spreadsheet, this time for the public sector funding for the City of Millwood in 2013. The spreadsheet just has a very simple layout with the sector, estimated spending and the actual spending, with an updating chart next to it. And it's repeated on the next 2 pages. This type of information stored in Excel is ideally suited to public distribution. The best method to do this is to make sure that the Excel workbook becomes a web page. And it's very straightforward. The very first thing to do, once the workbook is finished, is to save it as an Excel file. Just to remind you, we go to the File option, go to Save As, locate the folder, give it a name, and select Save. The next stage is again go to the File option, go to Save As, navigate to the location we wish to store our new web page, and then in the Save As type box, select this and then select Web Page. Above Web Page you can see Single File Web Page. This is more suited if you only have one sheet within your workbook. As we have 3 sheets within our workbook, we're going to save it as a web page. But the same rules still apply. We give the Excel workbook a file name, and Millwood spending is fine for this. Save as type web page, and make sure that we're saving the entire workbook and not just a selected sheet. Once we're done, click Save. Excel warns us that some features in the workbook might be lost if we save as a web page, but this is standard. Select Yes. And now if we navigate to the Millwood folder where we initially stored our Excel file, we have our initial Millwood spending Excel file here, but we also have a HTML web page as well as a folder called Millwood Spending Files. If we open the Millwood Spending Files folder, all the information that's contained within a web page, the style sheet, the images and so on, are all stored here. So should the web page be needed to be moved to a server or a domain, this folder will contain all the information that's needed. If we wish to view our Excel workbook as a web page, all we need to do is double click the HTML document. So our workbook can now be viewed as a web page. As Excel saves our workbook as a HTML file, it means this type of file can be opened in any browser. Because we also saved several sheets within our workbook, they can be accessed in the hyperlinks down here. When creating workbooks in Excel that need to be turned into web pages, always make sure that we save the original Excel workbook so that if any changes take place, we can always restore them into the web page again. Remember, Excel files can also be transferred to Google Drive, SkyDrive, and other cloud services where there's applications to view them online as well. There are times when we'll make a spreadsheet that will contain a lot of data that will be repeated over time, and some data that has to be re-added in. We're back again with the track and field spreadsheet, and as we can see, there's some data in here that will probably change very little over time, like the employees, their ID, their gender, and maybe their department. Their salary may change from month to month. Their sales will certainly change from month to month, and their commission may change from month to month. Their commission value and their salary total will always change. So it's helpful to create a template from an existing spreadsheet so that each month we don't have to type in all the same data over and over again. One of the useful features about creating a template is that any formulas that are featured within the spreadsheet we create the template from will also be kept in. To go about creating the template, we can remove the data we no longer need. So for example, we can get rid of the sales in February, the salary, and if we need to, we can also remove the commission. The only cells that contain formulas is the commission value cells and the salary total cells. There are no other formulas held in the empty spaces. We can also go ahead and change sales in February to add month here, so that the next user that comes along only has to add in the current months for the sales. And our template is ready to be created. Once our spreadsheet has been prepared, we can go about saving it as a template. To do this, go to the File tab up in the ribbon, go to Save As, and regardless of where we choose to save it, so if we create a custom folder that says My Excel Templates, the moment we change the Save As type from Excel Workbook to Excel Template, Excel will automatically push the template into the Current User, Documents, and the Custom Office Templates folder. We give our file a name, Template Example 1, and click Save. We still have our open Excel workbook here, so we can close this and then open up Excel and start a new workbook. When we open up Excel, all our recent documents are here, and we also have templates next to the blank workbook that are designed by MicrosoftOffice.com. These are the featured templates, but we also have Personal. If we click Personal, we can see that's where our template example 1 has been stored. If we click on this, and our template opens ready to be used. The only thing we need to add is a salary, a sales, and the commission value and the salary total is automatically calculated as the template has stored the functions that we've kept within these cells. Just remember, once the work's been created, make sure to save it again as an Excel workbook. To make changes to an existing template within Excel, go to the File tab, go to Open, and go to where the template is stored. In this case, it's Custom Office Templates. And our template example 1 is here. Select the template and click Open. We can then go about making any changes within the template to suit our needs. For example, we may wish to change the color or the layout, or change the functions. We'll keep it simple. by changing the colour in the title field and taking the bold away from the employee names. We can also go ahead and make further changes by adding more names, adding more fields, or changing the functions. Whatever we decide to do, when we're done, go back to the File menu, go to Save As, and this time we'll call our template example 2. The Save As type has already been declared as an Excel template, so we don't have to worry about changing from an Excel workbook to an Excel template. Once we're happy, click Save. We can find our new template by going to New, Personal, and both our template examples are now here. And as we can see, the changes we've made to our template have been declared. It's worth mentioning, any changes to a template will not be retroactively applied. In other words, if we make a workbook from a template and then change the template later on, those changes will not be reflected in an earlier workbook. When we have spreadsheets that contain similar data, or spreadsheets generated from the same template, it's sometimes a good idea to consolidate the data into a new worksheet. Remember, we can always copy and paste worksheets from one workbook to another, but consolidation works a little differently. Consolidation will allow us to use a variety of functions to bring the data together. For example, we're again using the Trek and Field spreadsheet, but this time we've added another sheet. So sheet 1 contains the sales in February and January, as well as the salary totals. And sheet 2 also contains the sales in January and December, as well as the salary totals. A spreadsheet like this one would be used once a month, so at the end of the year there'd be 12 spreadsheets that would all require some form of consolidation so that we can see salary totals and sales totals. To start a consolidation, create a new sheet. In the new sheet, select cell A1 and go to the Data tab in the ribbon and select Consolidate. The Consolidate window opens and the first option is the function. In other words, right now the sum is selected, so any data that's going to be consolidated will be summed together. But we can also choose other options. We could find out the average sales over the year for all the employees, or the maximum or the minimum. We'll stick to sum for now. The next option is reference. In other words, from where is our data arriving? So we can use the rangefinder for this. Select the rangefinder, go back to sheet 1, select our headers and the data beneath. Click Add, then go to sheet 2, and as it uses a similar template, sheet 2 already has the same data already defined, so we need to make no changes to this and just click Add. Lastly, in the new consolidated worksheet, we can use the labels in the top row or the left column, or both. As our left column contains our employee names, it's a good idea to include the top row and the left column. When we're ready, click OK. And our new consolidated worksheet is defined. When we consolidate data, because we use functions, some of the data that's consolidated won't be correct. For example, it's summed together the cost of the salaries. So while this is correct, the commission value certainly isn't. So some editing may be required. From time to time, it might be necessary to hide rows, columns, worksheets, or entire workbooks. The process to do this is very straightforward. For example, this is a workbook with 4 worksheets in sheet 2, sheet 3, and sheet 4. I've kept it simple just to show the process. To hide an entire workbook, go to the View tab up in the ribbon and select Hide. The entire workbook is now hidden. To unhide the workbook, go back to the View tab and select Unhide. And a list of all Hidden Workbooks appears here. Click OK, and our workbook reappears once more. To hide a worksheet, we can right-click on the sheet name here at the very bottom and select Hide. And now Sheet 2 is now no longer within our list. To unhide the sheet, right-click on any one of the sheets and select Unhide. And again, the Unhide window opens and asks us which sheet we wish to unhide. As we only have one, it's Sheet 2, so we click OK. And Sheet 2 reappears within our list once more. In Sheet 3, we have a column. To hide the column, right-click on the column name and select Hide. We know the column's there because there is no B between A and C. To unhide the column, select columns A through to C, in other words, the ones on either side. Right-click and select Unhide. And the column appears one more time. In Sheet 4 we have our row, and exactly the same process applies. Right-click in the row title, select Hide, and again, row 3 has disappeared, so we just have to select rows 2 to 4, right-click and select Unhide, and our row appears again. We're back again with the track and field exercises spreadsheet, as it's a good example of how we can show the same data in different views. Right now, this is what we'd call the full view. All our data is currently seen and nothing is hidden. If we go to the View tab in the ribbon, we can go to Custom Views and add a new view, giving it a relevant name. So we'll call this one All Data. And we'll also include in the view any print settings, hidden rows, columns and filter settings, and click OK. Now that we have one view that contains everything, we can go ahead and hide some details. For example, these 3 first rows we don't need to see, as they're relevant to an exercise in another module. So we'll right click on the side and select Hide. Now we can go back to Custom Views, add another view, and call this one Hidden Row. We'll also keep our print settings and hidden rows the same, and click OK. So we can now switch between these 2 views whenever we like. We can also add another setting. For example, we may not wish for our commission or our salary totals to be seen, so we can select both these columns and hide them from view. Again, go to our custom views, go to Add, and this time give it another name. And click OK. And now we have 3 custom views. We can see all the data, lose the irrelevant data, or lose the salary data. Remember, creating, applying and saving custom views will only work within the current worksheet of the workbook. It can't be applied to other sheets or other workbooks. For example, if we go down to Sheet 2, we can't then apply a custom view here, as it will jump back to Sheet 1 where our custom view is applied. Every Excel spreadsheet or workbook always contains properties. We can see these properties whenever we open a new spreadsheet or workbook. Once the workbook is opened, go to the File tab, and the properties are here on the right. We can also select to show all properties by clicking the hyperlink here at the very bottom. The properties have quite a few categories: the size of the file, its title, any tags we wish to include, comments, the template it was originally drawn from, the status of the file, the categories it comes under, the subject, the hyperlink base, if there is one, the company, and of course the related dates to do with modification, creation or printing. We can also specify authors, managers, or any related documents. We can also include to show fewer properties by clicking the link once more. If we need to change any of the properties, in many cases all we need to do is click next to the property and define it. We don't have to include many of these properties, but for the sake of completeness, it's a good idea to make sure that as much information can be imparted within the property section so that other users have a full understanding of what the spreadsheet is for. Remember, we can always show the author and the modifiers in each one of the property tabs. Once we're finished with our properties, all we have to do is save, and the properties will always be saved alongside the workbook. For the first exercise, publish the Millwood Itemized Spending spreadsheet as a web page. Okay, so firstly we click Save to make sure we have a copy of our Excel workbook. Next we click on the File tab, go to Save As, navigate to where we wish to store our files, and then change the Save As type from Excel Workbook to Web Page. Make sure the radio button is checked for the entire workbook and click Save. We can then navigate to the holding folder, double-click the HTML file with the same workbook name, and our workbook opens up as a web page. For the second exercise, convert the Millwood Itemized Spending spreadsheet into a template. Okay, so to create a template from our existing spreadsheet, we can remove the data we don't need, but keep the format, the layout, and any functions that are currently held in it. There's two functions here in the total section. Once we're happy with the layout for our template, we can go to the File tab, go to Save As, navigate to where we wish to store the template, in this case the Custom Office Templates folder, and change the Save As type from an Excel workbook to an Excel template. Always make sure we give any templates an appropriate name. And when we're ready, click Save. With the template done, we can now test this by closing Excel and then reopening by applying the new template style. And our new template is here, the Millward Itemized Spending template. For the last exercise, create a custom view that shows all the details within the Millward Itemized Spending spreadsheet. Then, hide row 24 where our totals are held, and then create another custom view called Hidden Totals. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is create a custom view that shows all the detail. So we go to the View tab, go to Custom Views, and click Add. And we'll call this one Full Detail. We'll keep the Print Settings and Hidden Rows, Columns and Filter Settings checked, and click OK. Now we need to hide row 24, go back to Custom View, click Add again, and give it a new name of Hidden Total. Again, keeping the checkbox checked, and click OK. We can now switch between the views whenever we wish. So in summary, workbooks published as web pages allows for widespread data distribution in a manner that's easy to incorporate into existing websites. Consolidation can unify and calculate data from similar worksheets in a variety of ways. Custom Views gives a convenient method of switching between relevant data quickly. And finally, correctly updating properties gives important information to other users. Thanks very much, and we hope you enjoyed the Excel modules.